the national anthem for him, and it's all over the media. And we have Obama taking the opposite tactic, staying away, staying in the U.S., not going to the March of World Leaders, which tells me this is not Obama's deal. This is Netanyahu's deal. He's pushing it up. He's playing it up to the max, and Obama's kind of stepping aside. So those are the reasons I think this is a Mossad plot.
Well, I've had former famous Mossad commanders on the show that talked about declassified examples where they would tap into undersea cables and stuff and then send terrorist transmissions over them to even blame countries on their cables, things like that. I mean, I'm not a hater just of Israel to hate Israel, because all major countries engage in this stuff. What I'm saying is I don't want to be identified with those that their whole religion is blaming Israel if somebody falls on a banana peel. But that said, Israel is very famous for staging terror attacks that were then to be blamed on political enemies. They got caught in Egypt famously doing that. I mean, that's in mainstream Israeli papers. Israel was in UPI, did admit they created fake al-Qaeda groups and did bombings at key political times to mess up the peace process. Israel has also in Iraq and in Spain, after World War II, they would blow up mosques, blame it on other groups to make Jews move to Israel so that they could then be controlled by the political parties there. And so the tactics being used are the same ones that our own government's been caught engaging in. And so I don't know what you do, though, when you're faced with real radical Muslims that the West has armed, and Israel's been involved in that as well. They're in the Golan Heights aiding the Free Syrian Army. France is involved. Everybody's involved. What do you do, Kurt, when we know governments do this, including the Russian government stages stuff? I mean, this is an old tactic. It's in British manuals. It's in Army manuals. WikiLeaks released those. The Army admitted that those were real and prosecuted Manning for it. They teach Army captains who are in covert operations in certain areas how to do false flags. That's in the manual. Well, I've interviewed Green Berets, colonels. He got sued over it, but he won the lawsuit, who admitted that, oh, torture's not new. We used to do it with, with electricity. We carried it in our field pack. I tortured people all the time. I just think there's a naivete out there about what's really going on and how widespread it is. So what do we do then about these tactics that we know are taking place? And again, there is, though, now a new giant army of radical Muslims that have been created. So the question is, why wouldn't they just order and deploy some of them into attack? And I guess the answer is they just did. Well, then why would you then need to set them up and have somebody else do it if you've got an army that's willing to do it? Why make the operation so complex?
Well, they want to have limited damage, and they want to be able to control the situation. I mean, we don't even know, honestly, if anyone in Charlie Hebdo even died. We don't know. There's no evidence of this. So for all that we know, this could be another Sandy Hook event where it's very questionable whether anyone died at all. So, but it's to control the narrative. I mean, if you send in real radicalized Muslims, who knows what they're going to do? They may blow up entire buildings, suicide bombs all over the place, and you might be talking about a mass casualty event.
And then the government looks really bad getting, for a while, defeated by it, or absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's not the goal. The goal is to have a minor terrorist attack with limited casualties that can be exploited majorly in the media. That's the goal.
Well, let's not forget, and I went there days after it happened and made it a big part of my film, Terror Storm. They bombed the subway in two areas and the train in two places and the bus in one area. The leader of it was MI6 and was protected. And then Netanyahu was like 300 yards from where the first bomb went off. And they had Visor Consultancy with running a drill of the exact trains and exact bus hit at the same time in the exact place. That is impossible. So they also run drills in case any other operatives get caught. They just say it's part of the drill, Kurt. I mean, really, these false flags are so obvious. So I just have trouble believing it's always a false flag. But then the evidence just keeps emerging that it is.
Well, my definition of a false flag is the event is blamed on someone other than the ones really pulling the strings. So that's my definition. There may be people dying. There may not be. It may be mostly as told or partly as told, but what we're never told is who are the people really pulling the strings. So that, to me, is the definition of false flag. But what's extra troubling to me in this plot is the tying into the underwear bomber. Because the underwear bomber case, in my opinion, was definitely a CIA plot. And this case is most likely a Mossad plot. So what we have here, to me, is a definite link between Mossad and CIA in the grooming of patsies, which tells me there's some kind of coordination going on between those two governments in the implementation of these false flag attacks, which is a very scary thought, if you ask me.
Well, what should we call this video when we post it and do an article about it tomorrow? Terror survivor, Paris, an inside job, or would you say expert, Paris attack Mossad operation? I mean, I don't know if with the circumstantial evidence, it all points to false flag. It all points to the proxy cutouts. We know they were allowed to fly. We know they're being trained as the CIA handler. Why would it be a CIA handler and now it's a Mossad op, even though Israel certainly has capitalized, not letting a good crisis go to waste? I mean, I'll blame Israel in a second if they just red-handed admit it, and then Israel's declassified. You know, they blew up hotels and blamed it on the Egyptians, or blew up nightclubs and blamed it on jihadis. I mean, that's declassified. So, I mean, I'm not shying away from blaming Israel. I think now you got to look at the CIA because it's their handler that was over these guys, and it was Western governments letting these idiots fly around. I mean, I would have to say Mossad then working in concert with Western intelligence.
Could be. Could very well be. You know, I just look at the evidence and see what is the most likely outcome. I don't know 100%, and none of us do, but to me that's the most likely outcome. So then the next question is, well, are they working in concert with the CIA government, or the CIA? Was this a joint operation? But with Obama not going to the March of the Leaders and all the other factors I mentioned, I think this is a Mossad plot, which to me means that the two governments are working hand in hand in the grooming of the patsies. Or, you know, they kind of have a kind of a pool, or, you know, a school for the training of the patsies.
We know Camp X-Ray is a school for jihadi commanders. That's now on record. It is just totally insane, and I don't think we can safely say who's behind it. I think what you're pointing at has a lot of evidence to it, and is certainly a major suspect, if not prime suspect, just because of the motive and also some of the other staging of things that stinks to high heaven. I just know this: not one but two passports survived the fiery infernos of 9/11 and were found that day on the ground. That's pure bull. And the fact that it's been done again, I mean, does this never end, Kurt, how obvious this is?
Well, the sad thing is it's only obvious to, 10 or 20% of the population. That's what's really sad. The rest are brainwashed and won't even consider what's going on when it's right before their eyes. That's what's really sad.
Well, more people are becoming aware. You were already a smart lawyer, but now you were a listener and were investigating 9/11, and then you saw it happen with the underwear bomber, and your story got proven true, came out in Congress twice, and it just shows you how much trouble we're in. In closing, we're going to go to break and come back and take a few calls from Blake and others. Kurt, I'd like to invite you back soon sometime to be a guest host when I'm out of town with some of the fill-in crew, like David Knight doing a good job with you. But in closing, in 1 minute, why did you split the U.S., and how do you like Costa Rica?
Well, I love Costa Rica. Let me tell you, it's a really great country. Why did I leave the U.S.? The reason I left the U.S. is a very simple one. I wanted to live in a free country, not where you live for free, but a country where you can have freedom. You know, I had my life very negatively affected by a false flag attack, and I ran for Congress hoping to make a change, and the people did not have enough sense to vote me in, someone that would actually represent the interests of the people against this corrupt government. So I did not want to live in a country anymore where we have such a corrupt government doing false flag attacks that hurt the people, and a majority of the people that can't see what's good for them when it's right before their eyes. So it's a combination of all those things, and this, to me, this is the best country in the world.
Well, I know there's a lot of CIA and FBI expats down there, so maybe they'll leave that as somewhat free, like Switzerland. Because I've looked at Costa Rica as an emergency bug out, and I'm going to be looking a lot closer. Not that I'm going to ever leave, but I may have to get my family out or do something like that at some time, just because I'll go to a FEMA camp, but not my kids. And it's all going that way, folks, when they false flag it and blame it on the Patriots. That's what all this is a build-up to when they're done with the Muslims. Kurt Haskell, Godspeed. Give folks your website.
Well, I co-host a radio show Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern on freedomizerradio.com, and it's called The Proof Negative Show. You can listen to me there every Monday.
All right, great job. God bless you. Stay with us.
Attention.